All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to your Logic Apps Live. And we are back with our November/December session, of course, our end of year. We're very excited. We've got a couple of guest speakers for you guys, of course, some of our PM group. And we're very excited to have you guys here. So we'll get right into it with our agenda.
Yeah, can we go to the next one, Kent?
Great. All right. So, of course, we've got our Ace Aviator of the month. Since this is kind of a joint month session between November and December, we've got two of our Ace Aviators for you guys. We've got some community news as well as kind of a hybrid Logic Apps interview with Incontica. That'll be very exciting. There's some guest speakers there. We've also got some updates for you guys about Logic Apps and the rule engine deep dive and some monitoring improvements. And, of course, we've always got some time for some Q&A.
Mm-hmm. And before we go to Ace Aviators, should we introduce our friends here? Because we have a whole lot of people, right?
Absolutely.
So let me add some people to the stream. We're going to have Divya here. We have Harold. Kent is on backstage, but is joining us soon on video. And we have Ahmed and Rasmus from Contica. So I just wanted to bring you guys to the stream to say thank you so much for joining. I think it's probably the most that we have in a Logic Apps Live so far.
Thank you. Thank you for joining, for inviting us.
For having us.
Cool. And now, let's go and talk a little bit about the Ace Aviator.
Of course. So for our November Ace Aviator, we've got Sabahat. She was one of our kind of our speakers for Community Day. So in case you guys don't know much about Sabahat, she's an Azure Integration Services developer and consultant. Definitely go check out her interview from the November edition. You can see the link up at top. One of the quotes from her interview is, "No matter how cliche it sounds, the habit of staying informed and continuously learning and polishing the skills required in the market is key to growth." One of the other key, important steps for Sabahat for growth is also to embrace your failures. She mentioned in her interview that the early stages of learning, to embrace your failures, don't be afraid to ask questions, and take the time you need to complete the tasks. So definitely go check out more of her interview from our November edition. And then for our December Ace Aviator of the month, we have Stefan Demiliani. So he is a leader of a group that designs and develops solutions with Azure and the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central ERP platform. So he has been fantastic help as well for the community. In his interview as well, one of the things that he mentioned as a key skill to have in technology is adaptability, because technology is constantly changing, and being adaptable will help you both stay relevant and open doors for new opportunities. And also one of the quotes from his interview was, "My advice is to be passionate, to be curious, and eager to learn. The more you explore, the more you will discover new interests and opportunities." So definitely go check out both of our Ace Aviators from November, December, and read the rest of their interviews. They are fantastic, and they've been doing so much for our community. So thank you, guys.
Talking about community, let's see some what's happening on our community. The first thing that is I wanted to highlight today is the Logic Apps Aviators community playbook. So what we're trying to do here in the product group, together with you from the community, is creating a centralized place where you can have our patterns, a lot of the best practices and guidance that we all been generating as integration specialists, as people that is really passionate about the integration. So if you wanted to help, you can go to the aka.ms link that we have here. I'm going to be putting that in the comments soon. And you can see how we can help, and you can send your papers for evaluation. I know that some people already sent some items. We didn't forget about you. We're working on getting the communication with you to starting getting this in place, right? So keep coming. We really wanted to make this a place where the best practices around Logic Apps and AIS are together. And talking about, again, about our love for integration, our next point here is a little shout out for the work that Ahmed and Robin are doing with the integration love story. So he's going and around the world, talking about a whole lot of different integration specialists in a very informal setting. And I can say that is very informal as one of the first ones there, right? Talking about the products that we use for integration, our story around that, and how we all end up on this beautiful industry. So thanks, Ahmed, on that one. Say my hello and thanks to Robin. And if you guys wanted to catch up, I think they have already a large number of interviews. You can go to youtube.com/@Contica/playlists, and you can find everything that is there so far.
Thank you for more. I'm really glad to hear these words from you. I really appreciate it, and glad that we contribute to the community.
Thank you so much. I think it's a really good point now to pass it on to Kent and having that interview with Contica.
All right, so thanks, Ahmed and Rasmus, for joining us here today. So I wanted to chat a little bit about the hybrid deployment model for Logic Apps. But before we get too far into that, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Contica, please?
Yeah, well, my name is Ahmed Bayoumi. I live in Gothenburg, Sweden, with my wife, 2 kids, and a dog. I have been in the integration field for a decade now, coming from BizTalk background, and then moved to Azure. I am the CTO of Contica, and at Contica, what we deliver services in like project-based services in a scope of all of our services are integration, and it's scalable and it's project-based, where integration is our core service, where we focus on the most, and we only deliver integrations using Microsoft platform, Azure or BizTalk.
Great. Now, part of the reason we have you on the show today is to discuss the Logic Apps hybrid deployment model. And I know you and your team have spent a lot of time on this offering, and we certainly appreciate all that you're doing out there for our joint customers. But what is why have you decided to organize yourself around this new model? And what are some of the drivers that are actually contributing to this?
Well, our main driver was that BizTalk is walking the green mile, end of life in 2030. So that's our main driver, which created some kind of worrying in the market and in Swedish market mainly, because let me explain this in a more visualize this thought, because we have 2 realities. I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. One reality where customers are on-prem, they are having their infrastructure, their application, their data on-prem using BizTalk as their integration platform. And then there is another reality where they have their infrastructure and data and application leveraging the cloud using Azure. Well, this reality have not been available for a lot of organizations. In Sweden here, like the Swedish public sector as example, and other organizations here have been not able to leverage that because they are sitting in a wall behind rules and regulations and laws that prevented them from going there. Well, that kept us with a challenge, especially now when BizTalk is going to be out of the picture. The only logical solution for this challenge would be a hybrid solution where we can have a foot in both environments. And our journey in Contica with that started with Integrate 2024, where you announced the private preview of the hybrid solution. And then we started to explore this solution and learn a little bit about it. And then came the public preview announcement in Nordic Integration Summit in Stockholm. And that's where we decided to invest more from our side So we created a project group to develop proof of concepts that we can get hands-on experience and we can implement it to our customers so that they can also leverage like exploring this and have more hands-on experience. That's the reason of the preview, he figured. And that will give us the opportunity to be ready for the GA when it comes, hopefully soon. And after that, we will be ready for the migration because we already have been doing our homework.
Gotcha. Yeah, and stay tuned on those GA dates as those become available. We'll be happy to share them. So you've kind of alluded to a little bit of this, but for customers who have some local processing and storage needs, like what are some of the opportunities that Logic App's hybrid deployment model offers?
Yeah, that's a good question here because what was the most, as I explained before, from the challenge that we've been addressing, that we can execute the workflows locally and leverage that and have our processes locally on our servers. And then you get your metadata, you still leveraging the cloud, the Azure portal as normal. You don't change your work process. You don't change your like tools. You still feel familiar with all your tools, which giving you the foot in both worlds and actually getting the best out of them.
Gotcha. And you know, one of the things that we've been trying to achieve is just consistency from an experience perspective. Like whether you're going to the cloud, whether you're going to run this on customer managed infrastructure, customer owned infrastructure. So how important is it to have this consistency from both a developer perspective and also an operations perspective? You know, when customers think about the differences between hybrid and say workflow service plans.
Got you. It's actually that's a good question. Like I moved to this part. Let me try to explain it this way. As a developer, also the consistency is a key for productivity. So if you're gonna be introducing new tools, introduce new tools, new platform, new work process, something new to the developer, of course they will adapt, but it will take time. It's gonna be a bumpy road, but they will adapt. So you want to eliminate that. And that was one of our biggest reasons. That's why we wanted to have hands-on this solution to see if we're gonna be delivering this. Will it affect our developers? How the developer experience will look like? We found out that they still gonna be staying in their normal rules. That they're still gonna be using the Azure portal, VS Code. The deployment process will not change. And yet, what's happening in the background? Everything is running locally, and they're gonna be the work process did not get affected at all. So yeah, consistency in that is the biggest key to have this, and that's what Logic App Hybrid give us.
Yeah,
we realize that now.
That's definitely one of our principles, is that we do want to maintain this consistency. We don't want customers to have to like think about a particular use case and then look up a table and say, hey, is this supported in this SKU and not? You know, we really look at this as this is Logic App standard. It really just becomes a matter of where you go ahead and deploy those workloads and obviously then take advantage of the platform that's available, whether that's in cloud, where it's Microsoft managed, or if it's on premises, so you can take advantage of local storage and processing.
Actually, so it's really good that you get the powerful of it, that you actually, some of the developers, I got confused. I thought that I still in the cloud, but it wasn't. It was my workflows was still running locally. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it is kind of a neat experience when you are in the Azure portal, and you can actually go ahead and create and edit these workflows and obviously see the run history. And yes, it feels like you're in the cloud because you're actually in a web browser, you're on the Azure portal. But what it's actually doing is when you save the workflow, it gets pushed down to your local infrastructure. And when you want to view run history, it's basically a query. It's going to go query your data source in a secure manner, return those records back up to your web browser. So it feels like you're in the cloud, but you really are executing locally.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, from a BizTalk perspective, you touched on that a little bit. What are some of the things that BizTalk customers can benefit from as they think about these migrations to Logic Apps Hybrid and Logic Apps in general?
Well, coming from BizTalk background myself, I can only see the most natural step after BizTalk is Logic Apps. You feel like home. You reuse your skills, you reuse your processes, your patterns, and with this solution, with this deployment, you're gonna be running your workflows locally, leveraging from that, and still using Azure, and you will be going to Azure and like modernizing in your own base. It's like moving to a bigger house in the same street. You know the road, you know where everything, you know how the neighborhood works, but it's just a better house. And we have a lot of releases there. Like if you have the BizTalk data mapper, the equivalent of it is like Logic App data mapper. So there is a lot of things here that will be beneficial for people who used to BizTalk.
Yeah, and the one thing I would just add on to the second bullet point here about the custom pipeline components, and while Azure Functions is kind of a solution there, we do have functions running in the Logic App runtime as well, and so we've offered both .NET Framework and .NET 8. So there might be some of these actual true lift and shift, components that you pull from your BizTalk, and actually then be able to run them in a local function in the actual Logic Apps runtime, even on-prem. So that's a capability where we do want to provide customers with like the fastest, most cost-effective migration. And one of the things we've been prioritizing from a product perspective is these customizations. We do want you to be able to leverage existing investments in your maps, in pipeline components, in helper assemblies. We do want you to leverage your rules as well and to be able to bring those forward, because those customizations are typically the most time consuming and therefore most expensive part of a migration project. And we really want to give customers that option to preserve those as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more specifics here. So Contica has been, a leader in terms of like adopting this particular platform and doing a lot of like investigations and actually building a POC on your own infrastructure in your office. And so I was hoping that you might be able to share just some learnings or insights that you've discovered as part of that particular project or initiative.
Yeah. First of all, it doesn't show in this. I need to just shout out to how the idea came, and it wasn't unthinkable to even we're gonna be ordering a server at our office to working with Azure. You don't even think about I'm gonna be working on a hardware. You don't even think about you're gonna be touching your own hardware that you're gonna be working on. So that was an amazing experience, and I myself so that was the biggest thing that happened here. And what we thought that, okay, this is a new technology, we need to get hands on it, and if we're gonna create some solutions for our customers, we need to make sure that we're gonna be doing it in the best way. We wanted to be the first coming with that, and some of the challenges that we thought that we're gonna be facing is like installing the infrastructure, and that actually was like surprisingly the most smooth part of the whole thing. It was really straightforward. You had an amazing guide. Really shout out for the team who created the guide. It's really easy. You don't feel that you need to dig deep into the Kubernetes skill. You don't need to put a lot of work there. Once it's up, it's up. So that was a check there. We didn't think that it would be, now we are sure that it's not going to be a problem, because our goal was to create a plug and play solution that we can implement at our customer servers. The next challenge would be the message broker. We know that the absence of service bus on-prem was an issue. A lot of people have been talking about that for a while. So we explored around, and we found that RabbitMQ was the best alternative for that, because it's a cloud. You can install it on the cloud and you can use it locally. it's hybrid. So it completes this solution in a way. And this have been working just fine from in our book setup. The third and the most important one was the developer experience. So our developer need to feel at home, and the customers, the developers at the customer need to feel at home as well. And that was like the biggest key takeaway from that is we, as I mentioned before, we actually sometimes forget that we are working locally because you're still in the portal, you're still seeing everything, you are managing your troubleshooting from the portal. You don't need to go. Of course, you can go locally, but why when you have the portal?
Yeah, and I think what's really impressive here is that you folks did look at like the big picture. Sometimes we get a little bit narrow-minded and really focus on just logic apps, and then we get the questions of like, okay, but what about like the broader like AIS as a platform? And so I really appreciate how you folks did think about other things like the self-hosted gateway. I know you did spin up some Azure functions as well, and then also you did find a way to connect to a local message broker as well. So kudos to you and the team for sort of thinking broad and sort of taking a lead in terms of like, demonstrating that this is possible. You can run this locally if that's, really your objective. And I think this is just a great sort of early step that, hopefully inspires others.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, we really hope so also that will inspire others to do the same thing, even find the pattern. Because I just want to say something here also, like kudos to you, like the innovation here is we innovate for tomorrow. We know that there is an issue and we followed the release and we need to act fast. It doesn't take much to act and follow. The review is for testing and getting hands-on experience. So we can go theoretical about many things, but like getting hands-on, that's what creates the innovation and that's what drives us forward. So also that you have been helping us a lot on that, and your team, and like just reading the pattern. So thank you for also supporting us.
Yeah, no, on behalf of the team, you're welcome. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun, and kudos. There was Divya, Sri Divya on our side, and then also Praveen and team as well. So kudos to the broader team as well. Wasn't just me. So I hear you've got a demo that you can actually show us. So would that be possible to spend a few minutes just showing this in action?
Yeah, sure. And we've been talking about the developer experience, and there will be. We figured that it wouldn't be better than we had the engineer and developer one like Rasmus have been working on the project with us in the background. So there will be no better than him explaining this to us and giving us some key takeaway. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. So as Ahmed already hinted at, we did buy a server. We set up in our office. And as someone who really wants to work more with infrastructure, I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. So what you're looking at here is the Windows server that we have deployed. We are using it currently to host our AKS or Kubernetes local cluster. So you can see we have the control plane, we have the load balancer, we have the node pools where we deploy our pods, our containers and services. So all of these are virtual resources within this Windows server. But if I go to the portal here, so one thing instantly with this hybrid model is that you can utilize things like the resource groups. We have a resource group here where we have deployed all of the necessary resources that we need for this Logic App hybrid infrastructure. But obviously the star of the show in today's demo is going to be this Logic Apps hybrid. Now, obviously, you can go ahead, you can use the CI/CD process, you can create this using the portal. I have prepared this Logic App in advance and want to focus more on the workflow here in order to save some time. And so if I open up my workflow, we can see that we have a workflow here called Workflow Under Development. And so this is not really what I want to use in a demo. And I have two options here. I can either, as I would in a normal public deployment, I can create a new one. I can go in here and I can edit the workflow. But you don't really want to see me sit here and configure individual actions and paste URL links to our message broker. So actually going to show something that we found during our demo testing, which is very neat, I think, and it shows a bit about this local relation. So here I have my SMB share, which is also on a local network, given on a different server. And as you can see here, we have the workflow under development folder here, where we have our workflow. And it is the same workflow that is currently being viewed here in the portal. So in this case, I actually have a already configured workflow file here on my server. And if I copy this here into my share that is connected to the Logic app, in a matter of seconds, I get a fully configured functioning workflow that is ready to be run, which I think is very cool. So if I go ahead and I open this up, I'm just going to show you. So you can see even the, as Kent mentioned, that it's querying for the metadata from the SQL. So even the runs are still here because I've tested it before. So if I open the designer here, we're going to have a trigger. I'm going to fetch an unprocessed message from RabbitMQ, which is our message broker that we have deployed locally to our cluster. I'm going to process the message, and I'm going to send the processed message to the queue. But before I run this, I'm just going to show you how it looks within the message broker. So you can see here, the address points towards it being a local service. It's the same address scope as the server. And if I go to queues and streams here, we have two queues. So we have one queue with an unprocessed messages, and we have one message here. And we have one queue for processed messages with 0 messages in the queue. So when running this, obviously the goal is to process the message that is in the unprocessed queue and place it in the processed queue. So you can see it's running. If I go back here, we're going to see that the 0 soon turns to 1, meaning that the workflow is, there we go, it's done. So now we have processed the message and placed it in the new queue. And I can even go back here and I can check the run history and see the actions that it has succeeded. So being able to work like this for someone who is so used to working in the portal with Logic apps in the regular way, the standard way, is that once the infrastructure was set up, I mean, I as you mentioned before, I don't really feel a difference. It feels like I'm working in the cloud, but obviously there are so many benefits here with speed and flexibility and everything that it's really quite amazing. Talking about data, I'm just going to show finally. Here is the SQL. I have already prepared the query. So here we can see all the metadata. So we have the workflow, process message, we have the run ID, and the actions with status. So you can see that it's being stored here locally in the SQL.
Oh, cool. You've really started to dig deep under the, open up the hood and see what's going on underneath. That's awesome. And I think, yeah, what's kind of cool about what you showed with the SMB share, sometimes people ask about that, is it truly is local. Previously, when we did have like Arc-enabled Logic apps, there was this dependency on Azure storage account, and you still had to store your workflows in that storage account. That's not the case here. As you can see, it purely was local. Like even when we do deployments, they become like a zip deploy, where then those workflows basically get decompressed and basically like land on a file server, just like you did there. So you did sort of prove that this truly is running local from that perspective. So that's great to see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for that demo. And I guess, I guess number one, if folks watching have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer them either asynchronously or at the end. And I guess the last thing would be, so for Ahmed and Rasmus, if folks wanted to learn more about your offering and perhaps engage you for a POC, what's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, just scan this code. You will have a number and drop an email, and you have all our addresses also on the website. Our POC is straightforward, as you see here. We already have everything up and running, so it's kind of plug and play for us now. So yeah, please reach out, and if you just have a question about anything, just let us know. We would like to help either way. If you aren't interested in the POC or you're interested on some technical help, just anything, just reach out. I will be glad to always answer, or all of us will be glad to always answer and share.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for all of the engagement thus far. It's been great working with you folks, and looking forward to continued collaboration. So thanks for joining us here today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
For inviting us.
All right. Did you want to still share? Did you want to take over, Harold, or?
Yeah, because I have a virtual machine, so I'll
Sure. Yeah, go ahead and take the screen.
share screen,
Share your screen, and then I can add it to the.
Yes, no audio,
screen.
right? Yeah, no audio. So, is that mine? Yeah, that should be mine, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so how much time do I have? Like 10, 15, or?
You have the time that you want, man. It's you.
You know what? Thank you. I'll take it. Okay, so well, first of all, thank you for joining today's call. It's our feature, the Logic Apps Rules Engine, has been in public previews since I think since June. So we've been capturing a lot of feedback from the customers who have been testing and using the feature. Some customers are starting to go and they are using for MVPs, which is fantastic. And we've been listening to what customers have been saying. So I'm going to go through what the feature is about. I'll try to drill down a little bit on some of the areas that we've been capturing, and then I will leave a link with a survey that I hope you can help us with filling up with some feedback that you might have about the feature or the things that you would like to see about it. Okay. So, well, first of all, this feature, the Logic Apps Rules Engine, it's based on the BRE, the Beanstalk BRE. So we are preserving the runtime that we had in Beanstalk Server for the rules engine. When back in the day, when the rules engine was released in Beanstalk Server, it was used mainly for two purposes, right? For content redirection of messages, right? So it was as Beanstalk Server follows a message-oriented architecture. So then it made a lot of sense to use rules for message routing, right? And the other scenarios were mostly on the decision management side, right? So decision management scenarios where we had a specific rule and we had a set of facts, which I'm going to get into. And the runtime was able to support both scenarios, right? Multiple scenarios. So what we've done is we have incorporated that runtime into Logic Apps. So now you can leverage your existing Beanstalk Server solutions, with the exception of some facts, and run them and incorporate them into Logic Apps workflows. I'm going to show you how to do that, right? But what you are seeing here, it's a high-level picture or depiction of what I have with the rules engine in a workflow. So we have a composer that is still it's a standalone version of what you had with Beanstalk Server, the Beanstalk Server rules composer. We unplugged it from Beanstalk, and we made it store files locally. We have the concept of facts, which I'm going to be talking about, the vocabularies, conditions, actions, and prioritization, which are elements around the rules. So then, to summarize, you have a composer to create the rules, you have some variables and some concepts around the data that we call facts, and then you have the workflow. In the rules engine, it all starts with a composer. So you compose a rule, you get to the composer. I'll show you the composer in a few minutes. And what you do is you create rules that you store in rule sets. So these rule sets are the equivalent of what we used to have in the past with Beanstalk Server called policies. These policies, you had a number of policies, they had rules, and now we call them rule sets, and they are individual elements that you can preserve in a Logic Apps workflow. You can store as many rule sets as you want in a Logic App. So then Logic App will have access to all of your rule sets. And from there, you're going to be able to integrate your workflow with all of the actions and triggers and everything, to call existing rules. Or you can, if you want, you can create your own rules as well, right? So let's say that we have a rule like this, right? Creating rule, if the amount purchased is larger than $1,000, then give the customer a 10% discount. A rule has three objects. It has facts, it has conditions, and it has actions. The facts will represent the data upon which the rules operate. Today, they can be XML or .NET classes. Yeah. So this is something interesting, because in the past with BizTalk Server we had XML, we had .NET classes, and we also had DB facts. DB facts, we are still trying to determine, collecting feedback from customers, because DB facts made a lot of sense in the past because you had an established relationship with the database, and today the alternatives for storing data are many more, right? So in the past you had a number of RDBMSs available that you could connect with and drivers. Today you can have your data in the cloud, on premises. It can be NoSQL data, right? It can be relational, hierarchical. So then the concept of a DB fact is something that we are still exploring. So, but the fact is the center of the rule, right? So the fact is the data for which, upon which the rules will operate. Now, in this particular case, you will see that you have in the Facts Explorer of the Composer, you're going to have a .NET assembly, and you have an XML schema represented by an XLD file. The conditions can be true or false expressions with predicates. So you have a condition that can take any value of any fact and then say, if this purchase amount, in this particular case, for this assembly, right, it's greater than $1,000, then I'll do what is called an action, right? And that action is initiated when a rule condition is met. Today, the actions and the conditions, they act upon existing facts. So you decide which facts to use, and then you operate on the basis of these conditions, and you execute an action. I think something that I wanted to call out here is that while this is the behavior of the current feature, right? So we are keen on listening feedback to incorporate additional capabilities to this feature, right? Is it JSON data? Do we need a JSON fact? Do we need a new composer? Do we need both? What do we need, right? Do we need to go back to the concept of a DB fact? So those are the things that we are keen on listening about, right? Because this is definitely a new feature that is exciting for our customers, and I'm sure that it will be useful for a lot of mission critical scenarios. So now let me get into some of the additional tools that we have available with the rules engine. With some of the tools or the parts of the components that we have inherited from the VRE, the BizTalk VRE, is we have the concept of a vocabulary, right? What I did in the previous slide is I presented, what a rule looks like, the actions and the conditions and the facts, right? But what happens if you want to use friendlier values, friendlier names for, this combination of values? So then you can create a collection of definitions that we call vocabularies that will make the rules easier to read, understand, and share by business users in a particular business. I'll show you how this looks in the composer, in the tool. Basically, you have multiple alternatives. We are also looking to get feedback on this if you see that this is something that makes sense to keep or to change or to improve and such. There is no rules engine if there are no advanced features that will allow you to do to have more control on the execution of the rule. So a rules engine is just not called a rule because it just calls a rule or allows you to create a rule. It's called a rules engine because it can handle the complexities of the prioritization and the forward chaining scenarios that allows you to execute a rule, and then what happens if a fact was affected by the execution of this rule. So then what's going to happen is that there might be a rule that is impacting the same fact when a condition was met that was not originally being met, but then after the execution of another rule, it's supposed to be affected. So then there are functions that we have available to make sure that there is a reevaluation of the rules, right, upon the execution of certain rules. So then this is the rules engine at the runtime has the capabilities to manage all of these complex scenarios by using all of these functions and keep and preserve them in memory, and then managing these complex scenarios. For instance, the forward chaining inference finds all true statements given the knowledge base and a new set of facts, right? So this is a reevaluation, right? That has to also need functions to clear, to halt, and to retract if you need to take it out of the memory. So those are things that that you can do with a rules engine that you cannot do with a typical system that is not prepared to manage rules. So that's why this is something key that I wanted to call out. This is logic apps and the capabilities that you have to create workflows and to do codeful experience. What we are doing is we are adding these extra set of capabilities that will allow you now to use logic apps as the source of truth, as the source of data for the runtime of the rules engine, for the rules engine. So then it's like getting a product, two products in one, or multiple products in one now, right? So I think this is something very exciting. We are looking forward to continue adding capabilities to this. One more thing about testing rules, because testing is key in our strategy for customers. Today with the composer, the standalone composer that we have, you can do a shift left approach. You can follow a shift left approach. As you build your rule sets, and so that you can integrate business logic with your standard workflows, you can test the rule sets incrementally. So you start creating them, and then you upload the rule, and then you do test rule set, and then you enter the facts. Today, only XML or .NET classes, and then you do an evaluation. For XML facts, you need a schema, and then the values, you use them to test, to evaluate the rules, and then you're good to go. In the case of the .NET classes, you need to create what we call a fact creator, which is basically an object that will allow you to create fact entities that will assess the values of the that you have in a particular class. And again, so we are looking for ways and for requests to make this richer with newer formats. Going back to migrating from Beanstalk server, the Logic Apps Rules Engine, as I said, is an evolution of the Weare, right? So it's not that we just copied the code and then we moved it. No, there is we leveraged the concepts, the idea, and the runtime, right? But we adjusted it, we adapted it, we improved it, to today's IT world. As policies no longer exist, you should export each policy individually. Now we have as I said, the concept of the rule set. As artifacts are not supported, you need to remove them from your policies or refactor them. This is where the rules engine deployment wizard is useful. So because you can do that if you have 10 policies, so then you can probably do that manually, export policy by policy. But if you need to export, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, let me know. Let us know, and then we'll help you with some ad hoc tools to do such. Okay. Creating rules projects now is feasible through VS Code. So that's the experience that we are delivering today. So today you can create rules engine projects using VS Code. You should create a Logic Apps workspace and then a Logic App with rules engine project. So that is part of the extension. As it's in public preview, it's going to show that it's in preview now, right? But you can use it today. Once you have defined your rule sets, you upload them into a rules directory. Today you do that through Kudu. So it's or you do that in if you want to access them via the portal. But a sample is provided in the project template to begin rules development, which is a sample that we are also working on and updating for our customers who are already testing the feature. Right. So so let me go to the next one. The next one is the demonstration. So I added the link of the Rules Composer here. It's in the download center. If you look for Microsoft Rules Composer, then you will find it. So now let me show you a little bit of the rules engine. So I have created the rules engine project already here, right, through our workspace. I created a Logic Apps workspace, and then in the workspace, I selected the rules engine project. So what I'm going to do in the interest of time is you show you the project structure and show you how it works, and then what are the scenarios that it enables. So first of all, as this uses the custom code experience, so you will see a function project here, and you will see a Logic App project as well. There is a rules directory here that is used to store the rule set. This rule set is the outcome of the composer. So every time that you use a Microsoft Rule Composer to create a rule set, you have to store this rule set in that directory. So that means that in the rules directory. So that means that these rules directory here, it's available for the entire Logic App, right? So if you have 100 workflows, they all have access to the rules that you use. Right, and just give me 1 second, and then with that, right, let me show you here the code for this rule, right? So so what this project comes, it comes with these run rules, well, with this task, the template, right? That basically receives a set of parameters. It receives the rule set name, the code document type, input XML, in this case, the payload, purchase amount, zip code, which are 2 values that I had. And then you can customize this. You create a file store rule explorer object. You get the rule set name, and then it does a number of things, creating objects and loading the input data, and then it passes it to the runtime that in turn will use this rule set. This rule set has a number of rules. Each one of these are rules. If condition for this, let's say this schema, this gold element that I have this element, I think, yes. If the status for this, if this element here, gold, has a value, it's true. So then what it's going to do is going to give me a discount. It's going to increment the discount in $5. Right, and another rule that I have here, this rule is if this condition is met, if the person is older than 65, so then what's going to happen is that it's going to get it's going to assign the status. It's going to give them the gold status. And if you see the usage of the function update, right? What it's going to do is going to update the fact that it's being executed, update the rule, right, and then it will look for any rule that is impacting that particular fact, and then it will execute it. So that means that if I continue running the rule, and then with the age, and then with the discount, so then what's going to happen is that it's going to get another value. In this particular case, this condition is using a .NET fact, right? So this purchase amount, it's coming from this purchase amount in here, right? So let's go to source fact. It's gonna go to this method. It has a return type of an integer, right? And then if this value, the purchase amount, is greater than 1,000, so then it's going to change the fact that has the discount. It's going to increase it in the discount in $10. And you can, this is exactly a combination of both. Then you can do more with the .NET facts. So the idea is to continue incorporating facts and then to determine whether we need to also change this experience to something else, or if you prefer a codeful experience for this for the runtime. So what I do now is go to the workflow, and then if I execute this workflow, you will see. Let me take a look. Let me open the workflow here, right? So I'm gonna go and open the designer. Yeah, I had it open here. Anyway. So in the designer, you will see that I have an HTTP request, and I have a local rules function in this Logic App, and then it's receiving this payload. So it has an age of 70. This is the zip code, and some the discount is 0, right? But the status is for gold is false. So then if I run this, let me go to the overview here. If I run this, you will see that yeah, it's running. Hopefully it won't take long. And then if I go to the details of the execution, you will see that this, yeah, I had a hard-coded payload, right? This value, this XML, had the 70, the zip code, and the false. So then the outcome after applying the rule set that I showed to you, you have 70, you have the zip code, and then you will see that the goal status changed to true. Now, yes, it's a fairly basic demo, right? But the whole idea is to show that all of these facts they can occur at the same time. They can change the values, and if I can continue running it, right, then the discount is gonna continue increasing because it's in this case it's a particular case where I have a singleton object. So with that, I'm gonna go back to the presentation, and then I'm gonna share this link with you all, aka.ms/LA rules feedback, where I can hopefully I'll get some feedback from you on what we should be doing next on this feature, because we are really looking forward to get some feedback from you all. If you are testing the feature, if you're using it for an MVP or for production, let me know. We are actively working for the general availability of this feature, and hopefully this was something that was interesting for you. Okay, thank you, Wagner. Over to you.
All right, let me bring Divya, and I'll add your
Yes.
screen to the stream as well, Divya. It seems like you're on mute, Divya. I can hear.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so in this section, we quickly want to talk about some of the monitoring capabilities and improvements we've released recently. So here is a blog post that we have done. So please do take a look at it, but I'll quickly point out few things. So this capability that I'm going to show you, it's in a limited preview right now, but you can use this link, and when you click this link and then access your resources, you should be able to see what we are going to just demo now. In terms of some of the key things that we have enabled is that you have, so this is something that we released a while back in terms of bringing a single pane view into the health of your application and different AIS resources in your application. We have added more improvements in there. So now you can look at the health of all the applications from a single place, which is integration environment. You can also do end-to-end message tracing. So now using a single correlation ID that flows across all the AIS resources, you can actually trace the itinerary of a message across all these components and what happens at each hop. You can basically get an idea of that. The dashboards that we had released before, we've added more capabilities in there so that you can do at scale monitoring. What we mean by that is that you can do monitoring for all the resources, for all logic apps, all service bus namespaces, APIs, etc., all in one place, and look at the health of them, as well as through different charts and widgets. You can basically understand the failures, the trends, etc., and do some more analysis there. So with that, I'll quickly jump into the demo here. Before I get into the demo, I want to basically call out some preparation that you need to do to take advantage of these new capabilities. So here in the screen, here is a logic app, and what I'm showing you are the alert rules that I've created for that logic app. So what one of the dashboards, the health dashboards that I will show you for application, it's showing you the health of different resources in your application. But what does it mean by the health is that you essentially, and I'm sure you're doing it now also, that when you want to basically monitor the health of your resources, if you're using Azure Monitor, you essentially create alerts for those, right? And you probably are defining your thresholds. For example, here I have, just for the sake of this demo, created an error threshold if there are more than 3 errors for my workflows. If there are more than 5 errors, then I have another alert which indicates that this is a critical issue. Likewise, I have created alert rule for my APIM, where if there are more than one requests, then I'm just throwing up an alert here a warning alert. So depending on whatever your business thresholds and metrics are, you would create these alerts in Azure Monitor to basically manage the health. In absence of what we are going to show you, you are likely going to receive a notification by individual resources when these thresholds are being met or when these thresholds are being passed. And in today's world, you are likely going to do all of this troubleshooting and understanding of what's going on at an individual resource level. And this is the problem that we are trying to solve here. So when you come into integration environment, here I have an integration environment that I already created. Now you are able to bring different resources under what we are calling as applications, right? So here I have an application, and let me quickly just show you one of this application. So here in this app, it's a e-commerce app that we have created, but we have multiple logic apps here. We have our service bus with different names, a service bus namespace with different entities. For example, two queues here, and an APIM with one of the APIs here. But again, like there are multiple diverse resources here that are coming into play here. So going back to my integration environment, as you can see that integration environment can be modeled so that you can have multiple applications in that environment. So here I have two applications, and now I want to see how these applications are doing, whether they are in all green state or there are some issues. So this is what we have added. This is new, and therefore you will see this option only when you use the link that I shared in the beginning. And when you come here, you will see the health of individual application that you have in there. So in a single glance, you can see whether your application has, if the total is 0 here, then your application is all good state. There is nothing to that you need to look at or worry about. But other than that, you can come here and see that here I have a coffee discount application, which has a bunch of alerts being fired up. And what I can see is that there are 10 warning alerts. Then I have another application here, my e-commerce application, which actually has a little bit more going on. I have one critical alert here. I have four alerts in error state, and I have 10 warnings. So clearly this one is where I feel like it needs, more attention. So I'm going to just click on this row, and this is going to load all the alerts that were fired, which are basically contributing to the numbers we were seeing before. And as you can see here, this is coming in from different resources in that application. The first couple of alerts are coming in from my APIM API. Then the next few are from my service bus queue, and then the other two are from logic apps. You can also see the names. So if you've put the names in a way that indicate, the severity, you clearly get an idea that, my critical alert is coming in here, whereas and you also see the severity here. So essentially you get an idea which of these alerts now you can prioritize and do further troubleshooting. So in my case, I'm going to take a look at this, critical alert first. And so from here also I can open this alert details and then get into more details into what's going on here. So this is basically an Azure Monitor blade and that we are reloading here. But for a logic app, it can have multiple workflows. So this screen tells you exactly which workflow is it that is, hitting these thresholds or not, or having issues. The threshold that I had here was 5. And since the total number of hits are from 19, it indicates that there is something going on here. So with that, you at least have an idea where is the problem and where do we need to do troubleshooting. You can also go into the user response and acknowledge that somebody is looking at this and save it from here. With this information in hand, you can now go into your application itself, and I'm going to use my e-commerce application here. And here again, like through the insights page, you can then do further troubleshooting on that application and understand what is going on here. So given the time constraints, I'll go over quickly here. But in order to look at that dashboard, one of the prerequisites is that you need to push all the telemetry from all of those resources in that application into a single log analytics workspace. So you basically use an app insights, but that app insights is using a log analytics workspace, and that has to be common across all resources. So here I have my App Insights resource. I'm copying the workspace name from here, and that's the workspace name that I'm going to provide here. That's it. So here I have the overview tab. One of the updates we've done is like you can see all the logic apps here and get a high level view into what's going on here. So clearly fourth coffee discount, it's all green, so I don't need to look into it, but there is a lot going on with the AI logic app. And if I click on it, I can get more details here in terms of the number of workflows runs that are failing, numbers that are cancelled, succeeded, skipped. Again, you can look at the trends for all the workflows for the logic app that you have selected. And then with after that, we are ready to look into a little bit more details onto what's going on here. So this is again a summarized view into all the by workflows, right? So before you got to know that which logic app has a problem, but now you can see in that logic app which workflow is actually contributing to those errors. So clearly we can see that ingest data, process fulfill order, and process product return are the ones which have issues. So we can now do some more troubleshooting for the ones that are having failures. I'll select one of them here. The thing that I want to highlight here is that now that I have selected this, I have this table which basically gives more details into that specific workflow and the runs for that. Let me select something else because I wanted to show you the bulk selection, bulk resubmission. All right. All right. I don't know what's going on right now, but yeah, uh, when you have multiple runs here, you will see the option to select multiple runs here and be able to resubmit those runs. So here you can do a bulk resubmission of the selected runs. Also, when you select a run, then it opens this table. This is giving you a trace for all the AIS components. So as you can see, I just clicked on a logic app run here, but I can actually see that the whole, the itinerary of that message, where it started, the message was processed by this logic app and the workflow. And then it also was received by an API management API, was processed by a second logic app and another workflow, and you can see all the important events that happened in terms of the workflow start and all of that. So this is the correlation ID, the operation ID that we have made available, that flows across all the resources and can be used for the troubleshooting. So I won't go into rest of the other components, but the blog post that I have covers all of that in detail. I wanted to highlight some of these key improvements that we've done. And as I shared the link, please give it a try. And if you have any feedback, do reach out to us and let us know. Yeah. Over to you, Wagner. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. Just let me add Alex here and the rest of the crew. I think that's us for today. I would like to, since it's our last session of the year, to thanks everyone again for this year contributions, both from us, from product group, but especially from the community. So we asked some people from the community to say what the community means to you, right? I was planning to share that later on socials, but since we're already over, Alex, do you wanted to run that for us, and that would be our goodbye for this year?
Yeah, that sounds great. I'll go ahead and start playing it. So we asked a couple of our fellow aviators community members, what does community mean to you? And this is their responses. So, thank you guys for your 2024 contributions, and we're excited to see you guys in 2025.
Community means a lot to me, especially in tech, because technology is evolving very fast and it's very hard to keep up with it when you are alone. And in a community, everyone can share his knowledge to each other and everyone can learn from each other. So whether you are a beginner or you are an expert. So in a community, we grow together and the community makes everyone better.
Hi, my name is Prashant Singh, and I want to share one of my favorite quotes. In heaven, we feed each other, and that's exactly how I feel about Logic Apps community. Here, we learn from each other, grow together, and most importantly, hold each other accountable to share what we have learned. It also allows me to connect with like-minded and growth-focused people, which gives me that professional edge. Many thanks to Microsoft PG and fellow creators who keep this space so lively and so happening.
Hi, this is Shri. I'm a Microsoft MVP in Azure Integration Services space. We got a wonderful community in this space where we share the knowledge, experiences, and innovative solutions that help organizations connect their digital systems seamlessly. This is where we collaborate and learn together. Being part of it has been an incredible journey for me. I got an opportunity to share the knowledge, learn so many new things, and connect with some amazing people. Let's keep learning and grow together. The more you share, the more you learn.
The Logic Apps Aviators has definitely contributed in my career growth. Being a part of this community helps in keeping up with the latest update in the Azure integration world, and being able to see other real-world examples of the Logic Apps implementation also helps a lot. As well as that, it's a great platform to connect with the other experts who are also passionate on the Logic Apps. So yeah, keep up the good work, team.
Hi, my name is Matthias Löfberg, and I just want to say thank you for 2024. It's been amazing. The integration community means a lot to me. It's where I find my inspiration. It's where I find power. It's where I learn new stuff. And it's always amazing to meet you all. I hope to see more of you, and I can't wait to share more of my stuff and hopefully inspire you to do more things in the future as well. So see you in 2025 and have a blast. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, everyone. To me, community is the glue that binds us together. Our history as a species is a history of community. And the integration community is where I go to find others like me who share the same experiences and interests. It's where we go to feel safe, to find answers, to relax. Our community is everything, and all of you watching are part of it. We're blessed to have such a strong integration community, so thank you for contributing to it. Wishing all of you a happy and safe festive season.
Hi, I'm Mick from Sydney, Australia, and it's a privilege to be talking to you here and sharing a little bit. Community means a lot to me, and as you can see, I'm surrounded by water and in the water most days, and it really just reinforces what community is. A drop of water on its own can only achieve so much, but together as an ocean, we can achieve a lot, and that's the objective that I like, and that we all share and that we all work together to achieve greatness and make life better for each of us in this world. Thank you.
Hi all, the Logic Apps Aviators, they are at the heart of automation community, driving the innovation and making complex workflows very simple. They go beyond the solutions, they actively share their expertise through blogs, forums and events, empowering the others to harness the potential of Microsoft Logic Apps. The collaborative efforts, they help the businesses worldwide achieve efficiency and scalability. So by mentoring, they are creating the resources and they also foster the community spirit. They are not just contributors, they are the catalyst for growth and innovation in the tech systems. All the best.
With that, I don't think I needed to say anything more, right? So that I hope everyone has a really good break, and that see you next year. See you all later. If I can find the thank you for the job.